Nicaraguan opposition leader Cristiana Chamorro was sentenced by the socialist regime of dictator Daniel Ortega to 8 years in prison for, and I'm quoting, money laundering, property and assets laundering, misappropriation and improper retention, abusive management, and ideological falsehood. The situation in this Central American country, this situation in particular, is extremely controversial, given the fact that, according to some of the most important newspapers, not only in Spain but also Latin America, including newspaper El País, there was no evidence presented at the trial in the Chipotle prison in Nicaraguan capital Managua. And on the other hand, the newspaper El País reported that the officials who were part of this trial confessed to the newspaper that they declare what their chiefs ordered them to do. This is extremely controversial. Basically, we're talking about a huge charade which main goal was simply to sentence to 8 years in prison to one of the most prominent leaders in the Central American nation. Of course, this is not a surprise, given the fact that these types of situations have been taking place in Nicaragua over the last few years, given the fact that we're talking about a country that is ruled by a dictatorship, a socialist dictatorship. So it is important to remember that Cristiana Chamorro, who is the daughter of the former president, Violeta Barrios de Chamorro, we're talking about a pretty historic figure in the history of Nicaragua, because we need to remember that Violeta Chamorro was the first female president of this country and was the person that the Nicaraguan people elected to be president in the presidential election in the late 80s after this huge controversy between the Sandinistas and the Contra. We all remember that moment, this controversy with the Reagan administration, with the Nicaraguan revolution and the violence that occurred on this period of time in this country. So Cristiana Chamorro, who is the daughter of Violeta Chamorro, she had been placed under house arrest last year and subsequently banned from running in the previous November 7 election, in which, of course, as you can remember, dictator Daniel Ortega won by a landslide after jailing and persecuting each of his rivals. So the case of Cristiana Chamorro is essentially the clearest example of how the Nicaraguan dictator is willing to do whatever it takes to silence the opposition. Over the last few years, the Nicaraguan regime has been more authoritarian than ever before, and this situation was coincidental with the economic crisis that this country was experiencing, and of course the popularity downfall that Daniel Ortega started to feel. Given these two situations, the regime started to be more authoritarian than ever, and at this moment we can definitely say that Nicaragua is way worse than it was during the dictatorship of right-wing authoritarian Anastasio Somoza. Reporting from Medellin, Colombia, Luis Orozco, Newsweek.